Welcome everybody to Landria Onkka on YouTube. I've got a really, really special guest here. This is the first of a series of interviews I'm going to do with people that I think can give unbelievably valuable information that's going to be a little bit of a different perspective from myself. And I thought it was really important for me to bring this special guest on today because I'm getting a lot of inquiries from people my age and younger who are parents dealing with these young, very sophisticated people, young people, teenagers, even younger than that, that watch my channel along with their parents. And sometimes I can't really answer these questions because not being a parent myself or being a young person in a very troubling world that has technology and we're exposing them to everything, I thought I'd bring somebody on who's really got their act together. And this is Marina Dest. She happens to be one of my internet training students that came on and decided she was gonna learn how to use the internet, create online businesses, which is pretty amazing. And in addition to that, she's an incredibly creative, brilliant, very mature, and very spiritual young lady. She's only 19. I told her enjoy being called a kid because at some point that won't be happening. So I wanted to just hand it over to her. She has a channel and Instagram and all kinds of platforms under the name Experience Human. So welcome, Marina, and I wanted you to just introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about what that platform is and what you're doing out there, which is pretty cool. And then we're going to go into, you know, your perspective, giving advice to the younger people and also advice to parents on how they can help their kids who are maybe feeling depressed, some who are awakened, having to deal with others who are not. And how, you know, how we can all work together to get through these trying times. So I'm going to hand it over to you and welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. I got just so excited when I read that. Oh, do you want to come on? And yeah, well, yeah, I'm just happy that I can be a voice for those of the younger age, you know. But this platform that you mentioned, Experience Human, actually just kind of came to me because I just wanted to. I always have had this thing where I just loved expressing this feeling of limitless possibility, especially in a place where we are in a world where we can feel so restricted just based on, well, really anything, you know? And so with that platform, what I really wanted to do was I'm always doing different things, you know, that entrepreneur energy. And so but the main thing with it is to just express the power and potential that lies in this human experience. But using my YouTube channel, what I really like to talk about, which is what I think we're going to get into today, is the specifics, like the little gaps in the spiritual community where you see like, oh, if you just do this, oh, if you just do this. And it's like, yeah, we all get it. We do. But then like how? I mean, you know, I'm a human being and I'm dealing with all this stuff. And like this person is telling me this. Is it an illusion? Should I take it into account? And just all this noise, right? I totally used to experience that when I was younger. And so now I'm so happy that I can create content, that I have a voice thanks to the internet, giving, you know, people the ability to really speak from their heart, right? So I'm given this opportunity, I can start doing this. And now I'm speaking what would have really helped me when I was younger. You know, it was pretty painful then, but now I can apply it. So again, I do use photography sometimes, I use digital art, all sorts of different things, which will be in that website. But that's just what I love doing.
I
Yeah.
want to just pause for a moment and just address that because, you know, I'm from the generation where you were supposed to pick what you're supposed to do at a very young age, stick with it for the rest of your life. And we've gotten trapped into that. And I'm seeing such a different kind of, you know, perspective. And hopefully, you know, my generation and younger, the parents I see are allowing their kids to explore a little bit more of, you know, what they love and not get pigeonholed. Now it's interesting because I see your YouTube channel and your platform being the younger version of mine, but still the same audience. What's so interesting is it's like you said, the subject matter is the same and it just applies to where we've been coming from, you know, where our society has pigeonholed us and things have changed so drastically. But I get so many young people on my channel. I was just telling you earlier before we came on, it was very shocking for me to see just how young they are, which tells me the message is the same. But I know that these kids are going back into, school with other minds that are thinking very differently, and they're having to deal with this anxiety, sometimes depression, and then relating to like my channel that is such a positive message for any age, and then having to go back into that world. And then I wanted to just address this because maybe you can talk about some things that you've experienced so the parents on this channel can hear from somebody who is very awakened and very amazing. I mean, you're really such a go-getter and such a light to other people, other young people. Tell us a little bit about maybe some of the experiences that you've had that have been anxiety, maybe depression, anything you've gone through, because you have never shared this with me.
Yeah,
And
sure.
that we can understand what you, even a strong person like yourself, what you've gone through.
Sure thing. So yeah, for sure. I'm just gonna give a little gist about my life story. Just we're gonna quickly, but
No,
since I've been
please
younger,
share,
yeah,
share, yeah.
and feel free to ask me any questions as I continue. Just like as we can get super specific, I am an open book. Um, but yeah, so always, when I was younger, I always had that rebellious sort of thing. I definitely just like did not care at all what anyone really said, and that's just, I guess, how I always was. And but it's funny because I always had this anger within me. Like even my mom was like, I don't know why she gets so angry, right? And it would just be like this overwhelming sense of like no one understands me, and like I can't even explain myself, and so I'm not going to bother, and so I'm just going to get angry, kind of a sensation thing. And I think that really mainly continued on until probably maybe 10, 11 years old. But at school I was always just like the goody two shoes and stuff like that, so maybe I just felt constricted, right?
Yeah.
And just sort of like, well, I guess I have to be this way in school, but if I can't be myself there, then I guess, but this isn't who I am either, but I'm angry, so I'll just express it that way. But I always, every single week, I had a completely different interest. One week it would be beading, the next week it would be knitting, and then maybe like sewing, I don't know, all these different things. And whenever I had an idea, I would just take action on it. I would just write it down. I would just like do something about it, right? But then I certainly got to an age where, I think it was middle school, and I was like, well, it seems like now we have to figure everything out. Looking back now, I'm like, gosh, why are they pressuring us to figure out what college we're going to go to in middle school? Like, we're literally 13, 12, what?
Yeah.
And for some weird reason, I always noticed myself not feeling, I don't know, I just never felt the pressure for some reason in middle school to, like, when everyone was like stressed about, oh my God, I have to get into this college, I have to get into this college. I was like, wow, I don't feel that. Like, is there something wrong with me? Like, should I be like, should I feel like I have to go into
You don't have everything planned out by age 13.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you?
exactly. It's just so weird. I don't know. I just watching everyone, and I thought it was like, it's such a joke. Like, are you kidding me? We're all stressing about grades. Like, that's ridiculous in a way. Hey, like, nothing wrong with getting good grades. I definitely did have good grades, but it's like I just couldn't see myself going the extra mile of doing like 5 hours of studying when 3 hours or 2 hours was enough just so I could get like an A plus. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So
And it's
yeah.
just well, that's never gone away. So that, I mean, that's something that we have never really done away with, and that is the value and self-worth is rests on that, and it determines who you are, what you're supposed to do. So there's
Right.
still that pressure, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally. And it's I think it's something that people definitely didn't see, because my best friend when I was younger, her mom she always felt the pressure to get good grades and go to college, and already in elementary school that was already on her mind. And I was like,
Wow.
this is crazy town, kind of. I think I stole your line. You always say that. I think it's crazy town, right? But it's just ridiculous, right? Because it's like, are you serious? Like, why we can't play outside because we're doing this? I don't know. It's just weird, and it's kind of just like we put this first, like what we all need to do, which is go to college, and then it's just kind of like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, but like, what about life to be lived as well, right? What about who we truly are, right? And I think at a certain point we realize, well, we're all here on your channel here. Whoever's here, I'm imagining that they by now understand that life does not have to be that way. But going into high school, I think that's when I started to fully like embody myself and do like art and more like theater and things like that. And in that space, I don't know what it was, but I think I just definitely stopped putting pressure to do what everyone else was doing, because I could see it, I think, in my older sister even, that it's like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to like go to college immediately after school. It doesn't even look exciting to me. And I feel like if I did that, like, why would I not do what's exciting to me? Right. And it's just, it always
Yeah.
made me
So my question
yeah.
to you is, and I think here's where I think parents, and I
Mhm.
know I know a lot of parents, especially in my generation, they
Yeah.
think that they're doing the right thing and a good thing by giving this pressure and direction because they think it's the best thing for the kids. So it's not always coming from a place of, just automatons. It's coming from well, I want my kid to do well and be happy and be successful in society. So they push that. And so we still have that structure in place that says, we can't have everybody willy-nilly out there without any skills, so we have to put them into this funnel, and so I do think that parents are thinking one way, and what's happened is they're pushing it younger. I mean, what is baby Einstein and all that stuff?
Yeah.
I'm like, what? You
gosh.
got to be kidding. But I think the parents were thinking, well, we're going to start this much earlier, give them a much bigger boost. It's sort of the opposite of what we really should be doing, right? To pull the pressure off of the younger generation.
And totally, I think for sure it's so funny because I definitely think that the intention is there. But I think that, I mean, I wouldn't know, I'm not a parent, but I definitely think that on some level, the parents who are like feeling that they need to pressure their kids to get good grades or like go to college or listen to baby Einstein, I don't know, I feel like on some level they feel like, oh my god, this isn't really the right thing. Like, I kind of feel like I'm pushing them away of who they
Yeah.
are, but like I don't know what else to do because society is telling me that this is what I have to push my kid to do, otherwise I'm doing something wrong.
Right.
And so I would not know, but that's what it feels like to me. And I think that from my perspective, what's been really helpful and where I feel like I'm at with my parents right now is they understand, like, oh, she is passionate, oh, she does go after what she wants. And because I was able to fuel that passion, it's stayed and it's growing, of course. But I do understand that there are definitely some kids who are in the position that their parents totally do not understand what the heck they're talking about. And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, passion is equal to going to this path that is preferable or that most people are on, right? But I think that definitely something that is helpful, especially this might be difficult for parents, I would not know, but maybe it is difficult because they feel like they're going against the grain if they do support their child in what feels exciting for them, what they want to do. If it's like, if your child tells you, I want to make music, it's like maybe their first thought is just like, oh god, they're not going to get any money, they're going to be broke on the
Right.
streets. But
Right.
it's like, I think that or at least I'm just grateful that I have the opportunity to like fuel my passions. And it's like, I think as a parent, it's helpful for your child to know, like, I do support you and I do believe in your vision. Because I think what was frustrating on my end was sometimes like, oh my gosh, like, I know and I see my vision, but I cannot show it to you. Like, I cannot physically take my vision out of my brain and just show it to you, because if you saw it, you would be like, oh, okay, I see what you're talking about. But it's like, if it just sounds like something I'm saying, like, oh, I'm just gonna be like a YouTuber, I'm just gonna flail my arms around and like whatever.
Yeah.
It just sounds like unambitious. But it's like, when you
Okay.
know
So I love that you just said that,
yeah.
because I'm going to tell you something, and I want our audience to understand this, that this is when this transcends all age groups, because I too have I so relate to you. That's why I'm at Marina was just my girl. I'm like, she's one of my faves, and people are like, oh my god, the girl cannot do anything wrong. I'm like, no, she can't, because she's an explorer, she's expansive. And so I see myself in her, and that's oftentimes it's rejected a lot of times, and because we're told we're flaky, and that's what entrepreneurs do. We're always doing 101 things at one time. If you notice that some of the most successful people, most of them have flunked out or quit high school, college, never went. I know Bob Proctor got kicked out of high school after 2 months.
Oh my god. Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. Bill Gates, everybody, you see all these people, and we think they're brilliant once they've made it, and that it's huge, and we don't think about that. We just think, oh, they're really cool, eclectic people. But the truth is that this is a pathway, the road less traveled. And so no matter what age you're at, those of us, like when I went into internet marketing and quit investment banking, you know, that stable job that I was just was gonna kill me,
Yeah.
going into something, and that gets criticized on all levels. And so then you have the parents who don't want their kids to go through that, so want to keep them in some kind of stable track, and so it perpetuates itself. But I want people to know on this channel that what Marina's talking about, we experience at every age, and that is whenever you go outside of the norm, you're a trailblazer, but you're also going to be putting yourself in that position where, you know, people are going to criticize you, the ones that are in the matrix, in the box, who are petrified to go out of it. So this is why it's so important for us to talk about this and support one another, and to, you know, hang out with those people that are going to encourage your creativity. And what people don't know this, I went back to college when I was 25. I was one of the oldest students. I was ready for it then, and had an amazing life. But I didn't go through college like a normal person. I quit. I was real estate and all these other things. And that's what entrepreneurs do. And I see that in you. And you're lucky enough to have those parents that are allowing you to explore that. And I want you to share that, like, you know, how could a parent with somebody like yourself, who is, well, you're more expressive about it. And there's a lot of kids who would probably like to be more like you, but probably aren't talking about it, right? Or saying I want to, because you're like, oh, you think you're going to go on YouTube and, you know, that's what you're going to do for a living, you know? So what could a parent do to support that kind of thinking? And because there has to be some kind of guidance and structure along the way too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the first thing that came to mind actually was just, there's this question that we all get asked, you know, near the end of high school and all that kind of stuff. It's like, oh, what are you going to do after high school? You know, what are you going to do with your life? And it's just, I think that is what kind of maybe even holds people back, is that pressure, right? And maybe that's not even the intention of the question. Maybe someone's just asking, like, what are you doing, right? But in our heads, I think as young people would feel this pressure because we just know like what the norm is and we see it. And on behalf of everybody who is my age and younger, like, please just don't ask that question. Like, let's ask, like, what is your passion? And like, where are you feeling guided to go? I mean, I don't think everyone's going to start asking that question, but it's just that, I think it's just, it opens the gate and people feel like free. It's like, oh my God, thank you. I can be myself now. And that kind of, I think, openness, that ability to like feel that, oh my gosh, great, there is room for me to be myself and step into, the passion of the life or entrepreneurship, whatever it is, there's that room, right? And even from knowing that that space is there, maybe then if you do want to go to college, you don't feel like you're there because you have to be, right? It's just like this openness, this like freedom to explore as a young person, that I think that we like to know that we have it because we're young, right? And it's like, I get it, we should, and we definitely like to take advice from people who are older than us and who know, you know, what life is like. But it's like, if we don't feel like we have our own room to explore, then it can feel very condensed and tight as well. So with my parents, actually, my mom, she had a knitting business, and it's so cute. Actually, this morning I woke up and I went downstairs and I was like, Mom, did you just like crochet? And it was just on the table, and that made me so happy. It's just been like 7 years since she was doing that, but I don't know, that was really lovely. But nonetheless, so that's my mom's side. Now she has like a computer online job. And then my dad does, you know, also computer stuff. I'm not really sure what it's called. Honestly, I don't really understand it, but something with security on the computer. So nonetheless, you know, I think, and he actually didn't go to college, he just went to trade school. So I think they both have this understanding that it's not like you need to go immediately into this path to like be successful or something. So, and I think on my end, I definitely started creating this story in my head of like, oh my gosh, like if they're not seeing that I'm doing something all the time, that I'm not always on it, then like they're going to think I'm lazy. They're going to think that I'm not ambitious. They're going to want me to go to college. They're going to try to force me. But I told my mom that, and she's like, oh yeah, we weren't thinking that at all, actually.
I love it.
I had that in my head. So I think that conversation is very important, because there can be this like invisible, unintentional energy where it's like, oh my God, like, am I allowed to explore myself? Or like, am I allowed to explore my interests? or is this like set in stone, and do I have to just like prove something to my parents, right? Because I
Yeah.
think like, proving something, needing to prove something to your parents, it automatically like resists or creates this sensation of like, I have to, I must, that like neediness, which just feels super resistant, as we all know, right? And so just I think opening that conversation, being honest with yourself, and even if a parent started that conversation of like, oh my gosh, I support you, like what can I do to help, right?
Yeah.
Is there any pressure that you feel? I'd love to hear it. And yeah, if you as a parent are experiencing like some fears around what your kid is doing, like I love to by all means hear them, right? And it's not that I'm here to reject what my mom might be worrying about or anything like that, but like how can I take this into consideration, and like what's really happening here? Because otherwise it just gets quiet
Yeah.
and people feel like they don't know what's happening, and that's
Right.
probably what may even cause that depressive state, is because you're not being yourself. But honestly, maybe you're just afraid that you can't be because you're afraid of what's going to happen. But
Yeah.
sometimes what is actually happening isn't as bad as you think, but maybe it could be as well. But I think just having that openness and and sort of expressing like what's happening, and it's just very
Yeah.
helpful, right?
I love that, because I think you just said something very important, because I actually get this on my channel. There will people will
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I could tell you were," somebody said on a comment, "I could tell you were frustrated in that video." I said, "That didn't even cross my mind." You know, I'm a very expressive person, and they're
Yeah,
projecting their own feelings on
that's
what
it.
they saw, and we project. So my parents must be because society says this way, and like you said, your parents, we weren't even thinking that, but I think that parents, and especially I think people on my channel, are going to want to be supportive and get out of that way that we live and think that has so not worked for us. And I think I love what you said. It's that, if you as a parent just say, hey, listen, what is it you really want to do? And
Mhm.
first of all, pull off the age constraints of what you should do at a
Sure.
certain age or whatever. Like I said, and I didn't have the pressure to go to college. I mean, seriously, my parents were like, whatever. I was like, don't you guys want to give me a little guidance here?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh,
Your own
it's
kid.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
And
man.
by the way, being on my own really did create something really powerful too. And I think where parents are very afraid sometimes to allow their kids to go out and really mess up. And I'm not talking about getting on drugs or anything crazy like that. It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
no, ayahuasca. Yeah, give it a try.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh
but
my
but what I'm talking about is, there is a fine line between being supportive and pushing that pressure because you think it's good for them. But I love that, Marina, that you said, ask, and my parents never sat down and had that conversation with me.
Mhm.
And there was always this, when we are a very open, loving family, but always these assumptions of what each other is thinking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I definitely, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, and I think that takes this element of trust as well.
Hmm.
So my parents, they definitely trust me, and oh, excuse me, and they have that knowingness that like, okay, she like, yeah, just like can take care of herself. Maybe it's because I went overseas and I was living on my own for like 6 months, or maybe I don't know, whatever. But the thing is that I think that element of trust allows them to really support me in this journey as well, because they know that I'm not really like, I'm not messing around, I'm not sort of that. So like if you are, or you do notice yourself as a person my age, and it's like you feel like your parents aren't trusting you, or that there's not that element of that space there, that they just can't see you in that way, I think what really helps is just kind of knowing that you don't have to prove or be anything for someone else, but you can actually like, you can take charge and like do it yourself. You don't have to kind of prove, I don't know how to explain this really, but I think it's just understanding that you are allowed to step into this space where you are like confident with what you're doing, even if you feel like you might be afraid to. Because I know sometimes when people ask me what I'm doing, I'm suddenly like, oh, like I'm just doing stuff, like I don't know, and it's like, what are you talking about? You know what you're doing, like just, and
Yeah.
trust yourself and know that this is like
Yeah.
great. Okay, yeah, so it's no need to like hide what you're doing, like you're not doing anything wrong by doing whatever you're
Yeah.
doing, right?
And that's
So
that fear of
yeah,
judgment, fear of being
Yeah, exactly.
fear of judgment. That's really
That's
what it is.
it.
So,
Yeah.
I have a question for you about, because you are an entrepreneur and you are a very confident person, and I know we all have our own stuff that goes on that we deal with, but you're a trailblazer and you are definitely somebody who's always in forward motion. So, how do you deal with your own age group, or and any pressures from there? Do you have any of that, or are you picking and choosing people that are, like, making those decisions not to be around any negative energies? How is that working?
Good
How have you
question.
experienced that?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, it's funny. I'm a very social person, but I'm actually most of the time at home on my computer, which is really odd. And I just realized today, I was like, I have to get out of the house, I love, I love it. Right. But, I think with people in my life, it's definitely come down to how does this connection feel? Does it feel like we're both excited and we have those exciting ideas and like we're fueling it off of each other? And is this connection like how does this feel for me? And I think actually a lot of people, if you're in high school or younger than that, this is something that I realized that shifted my life and it released a lot of pressure. So, get ready for this. But basically, you actually do not have to, like, you're not forced to hang out with the people that you hung out with high school. You don't have to hang out with them after high school. You don't have to even give them all your energy. You don't have to listen to everybody's drama. You do not have to do that. You may think you're being nice, but in reality, it's so draining for you.
Yeah.
And I used to do that when I was sophomore and freshman. But then I realized it's like, what are you doing? Like, this is not feeling good for anybody, and they're not learning anything. It's so don't be afraid to not, just, you don't need to be mean or anything like that, but you can slowly, of course, like come away from people that it's like this isn't fueling anything, and don't be afraid to do that, right? Don't be afraid to do what is right for you. Um, so I think that with that, I never was like afraid of like unfollowing people even on Instagram. It's like if I don't want to see your post because there's nothing to it, it's just like great, that's there, just like wasted energy, I guess. I don't know how to explain that, but just kind of
Oh,
like
you
there's
said it
nothing,
perfectly, because
nothing.
everything is energy,
So
and you just said that, and
yeah.
yeah, I absolutely agree. And so the other thing I want to mention too, and I don't know what your situation was in school,
Hmm.
but I want to remind the younger people that, those of you who are more confident, like Marina, actually, this is going to feel like a tough thing to do at the time, but you can be the change maker in an unbelievable way. I mean, I was always the cheerleader, and the person that was always a leader, made good grades, and I always stuck up for those kids that anybody picked on,
Yeah.
and nobody would say anything. They'd all back off when I would take them under my wing or invite them over to the table or whatever. And we have to do that. But now, if you're on the other side of things and you're the kid being picked on, how do you deal with that, Marina?
Mhm.
Because I
Yeah.
know that's probably not your case, right? But how
Um,
as the kids who maybe are more meek, they say the meek shall inherit the earth.
yeah,
How
yeah.
do they deal with that? What would be your advice there?
That's a good question. Um, yeah, I would definitely say, it's funny. I mean, I didn't get picked on. Actually, I remember bullying somebody when I was like in elementary school. So, oh my gosh, but that is just what happened. But anyways, I think that what helps is having like a passion, if that makes sense, or sort of even, something that you can kind of put your energy into, because I've definitely felt like lonely in a place where like I can't relate with anybody because I'm doing what I really love. In high school I still did, I guess. I don't really know in what way, but I remember feeling like, yay, I love what I'm doing and I'm continuing on this path, whereas I can see people are not really enjoying their path and they're continuing on the path that they feel like they have to go on. And I just did not relate with that. So I guess that's not getting picked on, but for that sort of place where you feel like you can't relate to anybody, or that you just feel like you're being like isolated and that kind of thing, I would say it helps to know that it's like a great opportunity to actually discover yourself more. I'm not going to sit here and give advice and be like, okay, go make friends or something like that. It's not, it's just not that. But what helped me is that I realized that that was a time, and even now when I have plans with people and they all just somehow, like 10 people or 5 people or whatever, they get all canceled at once. I'm like, oh gosh, well, this is an opportunity to go within, because that's just what I see it as now. So if you feel like you're being isolated, or you feel like you're being pushed off, now granted, take this as you will, because of course I don't know your situation, but see it maybe as an opportunity to get to know yourself more. Like what do you like? What interests you? What kind of people do you want in your life? Because on the other hand, you could have a bunch of friends that you feel like you're tied to that you don't like hanging out with, right? And you're in a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, well, I'm kind of free in that way. Start to see it, change the perspective, and start to see it as, oh man, like I can explore my interests. Like, yeah, seriously, what do I want? Not maybe even in life, but like what kind of friends do I have fun with? What kind of qualities, whatever, just explore yourself. And I think you'll find that with that energy, it's more empowering. And with that, of course, we all know how things come and attract into your life. You'll be surprised what happens. I mean, I remember that my senior year, that's when I stopped hanging out with a lot of friends that I hung out with previously. But I just started reading a lot of books and stuff like that. And I just started discovering a lot more about myself and that kind of thing. And funny story is that, I mean, this wasn't a student in high school, but there was this teacher assistant. She saw me reading a book that was, I think it was The Power of Now or something. I don't know what it was.
Of course.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But she's like, oh my gosh, I have this book called A New Earth. Do you want to borrow it? Right. And so it's funny because that's literally what happened. And then I started to just like talk with her during lunch. And then I found other people who were interested in that kind of stuff. And I'm like, I didn't even know this was in this high school. Like I can't, because there's that high school feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just like that feeling of being in high school with like people, a bunch of people, I don't know. And it's like, how can this be, like, how can we be living in a spiritual world or whatever if like this feeling of high school is so dense and like it's just icky, right?
Yeah.
And and then you realize, oh my gosh, like it is there. So it's all gonna come to you, it's all available to you, but take it as an opportunity, yeah, to explore yourself, because I think that.
So you weren't like hooked on the Vampire Diaries or so I love what you're saying, because and that's where the age groups are now starting to come together, because no matter what you're coming from, we're going to that spiritual space, which is so amazing. And I love what you just said about taking that energy, because most kids, they're going to be at home by themselves trying to get approval on, well, not Facebook anymore, but tweeting or whatever, Instagram, whatever they're doing, they're trying, it's and channeling their energy in that and still trying to make that happen. And of course, we know what the results are. It's never good. But I love what you're saying, because we do have computers, we do have technology. So you're not sitting at home like if we didn't have our friends come over, it's like, go outside and do something. You're like, what? Right. There's not, can't watch TV, nothing. But we do have access to learning new things and YouTube and all these resources that we could. It's what you pick and choose within that. And like you said, we have no excuse now not to do something pretty amazing, because we have that world out there, at our fingertips. And so you're right. I think that's pretty amazing, because then, you feel really good about yourself. You become empowered when you go to that space. Yeah.
And please, by all means, don't be afraid to follow your highest excitement. Of course, depends on how old you are, but please, like, by all means, go to a cafe, just do your homework there, or take a metro trip to the museum. I don't know. You can do little things like that by yourself too. But as you start to learn more about yourself, you develop this confidence that I think is really great, because then when you're in the world, you're like interacting with people and you don't feel alone or anything like that. So it can be illusion, but I hear it as well that you can definitely feel that way sometimes. So don't be afraid to, just get out there too, even if that is scary. It's just super, there's so many things that are scary, even with entrepreneurship and stuff, but it's like once you push through it, it's like, wow, like I really can be myself, step into myself anywhere. And it's, there's just this like illusion that kind of starts to disappear, I guess.
So what's the store? So let's talk about at 19. So Marina's, chose to get training on creating online businesses and all this stuff. And, this is taking a lot of work, and she's realizing how much energy she has to put in that to really be a true entrepreneur, which is not as easy as people think, but she's dedicated, just like if you went to college, you would have to buckle down. So what are you personally going to do? Maybe you can share so people can have resources to go to, like what's your channel and what could they look for if they wanted to maybe send their kid to your channel or Instagram or whatever. What is it you're offering, and what's your message, and what are you personally looking to expand on?
Perfect. Another thing I quickly want to say is that that online training is super helpful. I mean, I think it really helped also express to my parents, like, I am taking this seriously. I am investing in this, and I am open to getting guidance and not being naive in the way of pretending that I know everything, right? Um, and so, yeah, what I'm really working on right now actually is I'm going to finish an e-course soon. Going to be on quantum visualization is what I'm calling it. And basically what that is really being able to connect with the quantum field and different
Okay,
intentions.
so
Yeah,
let me clarify something. When she says an e-course,
right,
she's creating the e-course for other people.
right. And I learned that from
She's
that.
not taking the e-course. She's actually creating this herself. So go ahead.
So cool, right?
Yeah.
That, yeah, it's so powerful. Anyway, so there I just want to really teach, or what I'm how do I say this? I guess activate within you, because this is something we can all do. I'm not, this is not something that I, just am the first person probably who ever discovered this, but I think the way that it's come through is just like really different. Because last year I remember I was in Palm Springs. Oh my gosh, right? I took like a one-way trip there, and I was sitting at the beach, at the pool, and I was thinking, oh my gosh, like, connect to the part of you that makes your heart beat. And I was like, what? That's so, I just heard that in my head. And then from then on, I kind of felt like, and then, Greg Braden came across shortly soon after, right? Where it's like, okay, so our heart is really connected to, is our way of communicating with this quantum field, right? Sure. But the thing is, we can even feel the intention behind the the life force. We can feel that in our heart, because when our heart is beating, like the electricity that's moving it, which is keeping us alive, like, whoa, we can actually feel that, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So anyways, with all different possibilities that exist here now for us to activate, I really wanted to use that tool of connecting with your heart, connecting with different intentions, to really be able to feel certain possibilities, any possibility here and now, and really immersing yourself into it with spatial awareness, all different sorts of things. So it is very like specific, but also general. So there's a lot of different like tools that I put together, so you can like do different things and use different combinations to like really amplify that visualization. And the reason for that, I think, is really so you can start to feel that anything is possible for you. And as soon as you align with that energy and you feel that it is possible, I think that's when you start to like, it is so much easier for you to believe thoughts of like, I can do this, like, that is available for me, right? Like inserting those thoughts, because you can feel, you can just completely feel it, that there's this universal intention of expansion, and you can completely, yeah, just like move with it as well in the way that feels best for you. And for me, that is doing these sorts of things right now. And then another thing I'm working on as well is I'm actually, again, this online training, it's crazy. I didn't realize how much I can apply to anything until
Yeah.
now, because I'm also working on a clothing company, and I have all my little fabric now, and I invested in the overlocker so I can get the sewing really nice. And yes, there's so many things to learn, but like, it's exciting. And sure, sometimes I'm just like frustrated. I'm like, geez, really, like, did this really just, but it's part of the journey. And then yeah, so that's another thing that I'm working on. And then on my YouTube channel, I do daily videos on there, and on there you can really just, it's based on what's going on in my life. I'm not like sharing stories all the time, but definitely sometimes. But the thing with that is that it's based on what's relevant, that's coming through, that I kind of feel needs to be shared. So it really depends. It'll usually be relating to quantum physics, sometimes just mental health, sometimes anxiety, really anything that I think it's like super specific that everyone experiences, but it's like super specific to the point it's like, oh my gosh, I can actually apply this because I understand like what exactly is being spoken about. And like, oh, here's how she integrates it, so I can do that too. So it's not like speaking super generally, I guess, but like really like what kinds of, even, I don't know how to explain it, but just, yeah, really specific kind of tools to
Yeah.
apply. Um, so
Experience,
yeah,
experience human.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's so funny because that name just came through when
Yeah.
I was in New Zealand on my one-way trip, and I actually just like completely just, that's when I learned I can trust myself, I can trust life. If I'm taking action, like the invisible forces, they're actually taking action and moving with me. But yes, you do have to take that first step, which can be scary, but you'll
Yeah.
be so surprised. I mean, you'll be so surprised. But that name flowed through, and I think that the meaning or the intention with that name is just like how can we really like embody this human experience, right?
Right.
We make it so complicated sometimes, but it can be simple. But the complication of it is what makes us human in a way, because that's our natural thing to be human, is to kind of complicate things and, oh, it's dense, oh it is. But it's like, well, okay, that's great, but how can I also like use that to empower myself and not just say I'm an alien from outer space? I don't want
Yeah.
to be human, right? So yeah, but that's definitely that. Oh gosh, I was gonna say something else. Maybe
Well,
I'll.
and I want to mention
Yeah,
too that when you hear her talk about these things she's doing, that she opted to do the internet training versus the college route, and to empower herself to create all of this. I want you to know that she's paying for this herself. There's no parent writing checks for all this stuff, and so she's gotten herself a job and learning all of this and creating this. I want people to know that, because a lot of people say that to me, oh, you have money in this. I'm
I'll
like,
tell
you
you.
know what? You have no clue how much we bootstrap all this stuff ourselves, and how much we do rely on the public to support us in these things, because we're always giving, 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 and creating. And so there's nothing that anybody who's watching this can't go do. So there's no excuse, because we've all come from, and I had very supportive parents, but did not get things handed to me. So I want you to know, when she talks about this, all this creativity and the clothing company and stuff, she's creating this herself and
Yeah,
finding a way. And that's why you're just such a great spokesperson for
yeah.
anybody and of any age.
Because I was going to say, actually, as I said, when you take the first step, like the universe or invisible forces, whatever you want to call it, it all just like comes with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's so funny because literally, as soon as I invested in the online training, I was like, okay, I'm going to do the higher up one, right? And so I was like, okay, how can I do this, right? Because right now I can't do the full payment, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do the 4-month plan. That's doable, right? But I had a job that was seasonal at that time. But I was like, no, I know that I'm just meant to invest in this, and that I seriously will be able to pay it off as it comes every month.
Right.
And it's so funny because that is literally what happened. So the seasonal job ended, but as soon as that ended, I was like, okay, I had this other seasonal job that was available at the end of the year, right? Whatever. And I started working there. And then soon after, I came across somebody at one of those jobs who was like, hey, we're doing like a photography photo booth thing. Do you want to be a part of that? Sure, right? Even easier job. Actually, I really enjoyed it because I love photography and stuff like that. And if I hadn't come across that person, I probably wouldn't have necessarily been, well, I'm sure there would have been another way, but I guess that was, I wouldn't have known what else I would have done to pay it, right? But I think it comes down to knowing that you are allowed to take the first step. Don't be afraid that it's not going to work out, because it's like, even as an 18-year-old at that time or whatever, I just knew like I'm going to make it work. Like I can make it work. I'm so resourceful, and like you are too. You are, whoever is listening to this video, you are too. Like it's not just me. It's not separate from you. So don't be afraid to take that first step and know that everything's going to work out, because as you are following that excitement of life, as you are doing all that, it's all a grand intention, and the expansion, it's part of you, and you're supported in your expansion, like you really are. And then now actually I finished that photo booth job, because I guess it's still going on, but they don't have jobs all the time. But at the last job that I had, I came across a hotel, which is actually what I was interested in doing, so I could start experimenting more with the marketing aspect, because with jobs that are here and there and aren't like long term, or I guess you could say they're not like consistent schedules.
Right.
The problem with that is I don't know like how much should I invest in this experiment, in this marketing ad or whatever. So nonetheless, I came across a hotel where I was like, okay, I'm interested in being like a hotel front desk or whatever. That was the position that I wanted to apply for. Because I don't know, I'm so much like my mom. She just used to do that when she was also my age, when she was working on her things, and it's just funny. But it's funny because they literally asked me like, oh my gosh, we would really love to have you here, because the party that I was working the photo booth at, they literally just felt like family. I don't know, it's just so funny. And so actually, instead of asking me to just be their front desk person, I got offered a job yesterday to be a supervisor. So it's crazy. And
Congratulations.
I'm like, dude, it's just amazing how everything falls together.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
Yeah.
I'm not controlling it, but I'm in that space where I'm like, I know that everything will come together. And instead of being in that space where I'm afraid of like, oh my God, what if not? It's like, yes, yes, And I think when you're in that space, like that's where it's easier to break through fear, because you're like, okay, the fear is an illusion. And like, I get it. There might be illusions coming from all directions. They might be assumptions, they might be true, but at the end of the day, it's my projection of them. If I don't want to project that anymore, I don't have to. I don't have to look at that anymore. I can see everything, how it's coming together. And when you step into that space, the world will open up for you. So do not be afraid to just take the step. Okay, you don't need to rely or wait for anybody. All you need to do is just come into yourself. Does this feel right? Should I do this now? Be smart about it. Sure, I actually waited a week before I invested in the online education, because I knew that I was going to get a paycheck, so I would always have 200 extra dollars or whatever it was, in case like the job ended sooner or later or whatever. So be smart about it, sure, but know that it's available for you, and like you can choose it, right? So that's what's helped me just.
Well, and you just
Yeah,
said that the key words, I know that it's going to work out somehow. And so
yeah,
we don't
yeah,
always have to know how, but you have to
right.
know. And so I would like to, especially as you develop your online course and get further along, I would like to bring you back and interview and talk a little bit more about this. And so I encourage everybody, put your comments in and tell us what you want to know and what questions you'd like to ask. And we're going to do another little sort of podcasty thing. I don't
Right.
know. Well,
Yeah.
I'll post this on my YouTube channel. Go visit Experience Human. I'm going to put her information. Marina's information will be down in the description, and I'm going to run it past here. You guys should be able to see it run past here. And just, you know what, I think the lines between the ages is blurred. We're all dealing with
Yeah.
pretty much different levels of the same stuff, but it's like Marina said, it's like, have those discussions and just know that you're always in control, and where you focus and what you expand into is totally yours to
Yes.
do and to decide, and anything's possible. Thank you so much for being on here. I
Thank you so
loved
much.
this. It went by so quick. And so once again, thank you. Thanks, everybody. Please comment. Go visit Marina. And we'll see you next time.
See you soon. Thank you. Thank you.
Here.